Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Robin Yap, and thank you for joining us today. We have Luki with us. So, hello, sir. How are you doing?
Fantastic as always. How you doing, Robin?
Good. Tell us a bit about yourself.
So I'm Luki, and I like to say I'm the soft skills guy. I'm
Yeah.
a career coach who has found his purpose helping others find theirs. So typically I help young professionals, students, kind of the 18 to 35 crowd who are looking for more fulfilling careers and lives. And I do that through soft skills education. So when I level up their soft skills, then their careers and lives get more fulfilled.
I love it. So, let's jump into the book that's right next to you. so, uh, you have this, how do you pronounce it? Siwiki? Siwiki? How do
I
you
like
pronounce
to pronounce it swike just to keep it like a
Swike? Oh,
one
see,
syllable, that sort of
love
thing. Like
it.
swikey sounds like Nike. I don't know, but people can pronounce it potato, potato, whatever
There
they want.
you go.
But
You
swike stands for stuff I wish I knew earlier. And
love it.
essentially, it's advice to my younger self. So, and right now I'm on a quest to find other people's swike. And I think we've had coffee before where I've asked you kind of your advice to your younger self. And I find that a lot of that advice is dominated by soft skills, which hence my title. And a lot of it are things like mindset mastery, social skills, communication, time management, and even learning to learn, like all those skills that they don't really teach you in school, but they expect you to know anyway. So that's a little bit about Swike.
I love it. Now, what is this 80-20 rule?
Well, 80-20 rule is not my rule. It's the Pareto principle, where the idea is that 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort. Now, the challenge is that most people are doing the opposite, where they're spending time on the 80% of the effort that produces 20% of the results. So, really, what that is finding those activities in your life that'll make you much more effective instead of just being efficient. Because a lot of people just want to be efficient and productive. They want to be busy, but they're often not spending time on the right things. And when you do that, that 20%, you often spend less time on it, but it outweighs the results that you get from the other things that are not as important. So that's the 80-20 rule in summary.
I love it. Now, of course, 80-20 numbers, data. So, how there's so much data nowadays. So,
Mhm.
how does data play when it comes to the idea of looking for a job, for example?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Data's everywhere. It's the foundation and the assets for everything. But to me, it's not necessarily just the data, it's also the insights that you can garner from that data. So when it applies to job search, for me, the data points are quite simple, right? It's the number of applications you've done, the amount of networking you've done, interviews, and then the offers that you get. So it's as simple as if you're not getting offers, well, you need help on your interviewing, right? You need to get a little bit better on that. And if that data is you're not getting enough interviews, well, then you need to either network or apply more. That's as simple as that. Now, obviously, simple doesn't necessarily mean easy because there's a lot of nuances to all that. But when folks are focused on the data, and again, job search is really applications, interviews, networking. And when you get that straight, then you're bound to land a job. And then I also translate that to career because there's a lot of different areas or data points there. But because everyone has different goals and different ambitions, a lot of the data points are different. Whereas job search, resumes, interviews, networking, get to that, those three areas, and you're bound to land a job sooner than later.
That's great. Now, it's all about networking sometimes. Let me tell
Oh,
you, this is how I got to know you. So,
for sure. Yeah.
all right. Now, what would you say would be one of the bigger challenges that people see that you see from your clients?
I mean, that's a pretty loaded question with a lot of different things, but I usually break it up into four major areas, which I use the acronym CODA, CODA, to outline them. So the C stands for those that are confused, right? They don't even know what to do, whether it's in the job search or their career. They don't know what their next steps are. They don't know what advice to follow. They're confused. So the O stands for overwhelmed. So they know what to do, but they don't know how to do it because there's so much advice out there. There's so many different opinions. You ask Google one thing and ChatGPT gives you a different thing, and your friend, your uncle or aunt gives you different opinions. So you get stuck based on overwhelm. The D stands for they're demotivated. So oftentimes they've been at it for so long, whether it's job searching or career searching or whatever, that they don't know why they're doing things and they get a little bit demotivated on that. And then the A stands for being afraid. So sometimes you're just scared. You know exactly all the stuff you want to do. You're motivated to do it, but you're afraid to do it. And when it comes to the job search, I would say that if you're confused, then you want to find a trusted resource, right? I mentioned there's a lot of advice out there, and you'll often get conflicting advice, right? You read one blog post that says one thing, another blog post will say the total opposite. So finding a trusted resource. So possibly that's me, or it could be someone else. And the question that I'd want you to ask for job search advice is ask the other person, how many people have you actually hired? Right? Have you gone through the process before of screening a candidate, of interviewing a candidate, of referring someone, of being networked? Otherwise, a lot of the advice are from very well-meaning people, but they'll just say, well, actually, I just read it on a blog post. I just watched it on YouTube video, but they don't actually know why they have to do it this way or that way, right? So get down into that trusted resource. And if you come to me, I always share why. This is why you want a 1-page or a 2-page resume or whatever. And I'll share that sort of detail. Now, if you're on the overwhelm side, well, maybe back to our 80-20 rule, right? If you focus on those core elements, so applying and interview practice and resumes, and networking, that will really get you the results. And I actually flip the order where I ask people to practice interview questions first, then network, and then apply. Because if you don't do it in that order, usually people start with applying first, and then they get so drained, they don't want to do the other ones. But the other part is when they land that interview, they're batting at like a 6 out of 10, right? Because they haven't practiced, because articulating your value, your tell me about yourself, why should you work here, takes time and a bit of energy to practice. And for those that are on the demotivated side, well, this is where you might need help from a coach or a friend, and maybe it's some accountability or helping you find your purpose and diving deep into that. And for those of you who are more afraid, well, this is where you actually really need to seek help. So find a friend, find a coach, maybe find a therapist, someone that kind of get you past your older traumas and get you from past fear and into motivation and into action, right? So yeah, there's lots more, but those are generally the 4 categories of folks that I generally deal with, and a little bit on for each one in those categories, what you might be able to do in order to get past that.
That's great strategy. Now, when it comes to part of the work that you do is career coaching, and how do you foresee it playing out in the next 5 years, for example, knowing that our workplace is now full of AI and robots?
Yeah, I mean, for the past couple of years, AI has definitely been on the rise, and I mean, it's funny how you have a whole bunch of new career coaches entering the space because they helped one friend land a job. It's like, oh, I can do that for a lot more people, right? And for career coaching, I think it's going to be divided a little bit, where you're going to switch it into like job search coaching versus kind of personal development, soft skills coaching, and then more on the life skills coaching, right? So 3 different elements where it's kind of lumped in together on this career coaching, but I think they'll separate themselves out. And of course, I mean, AI is commoditizing a lot of it, where let's say the job search coaching, they have AI that will like review your resume and say that it's like 80% a fit. They actually have AI that will assess you when you interview, and oh, that tell me about yourself. You have too little eye contact, too many ums, ers, ahs, whatever it is. And they're starting to get that with networking, where you can actually role play having a coffee chat, virtual chat with like a director of some company and see how you might fare on that. So a lot of those, call it basic functions, will be taken over by AI. But just like with everything, the higher level functions and the more nuanced ones where will be kept with the career coaches. And with anything where there's a human involvement, some people just want a human interaction, right? I mentioned that when ATMs were created, everyone thought that bank branches would disappear, right? But there seem to be even more bank branches than there ever were because some people like to go in there and like to say hi, like to have that tangible interaction. And they don't like to wait. And that's where AI can streamline a lot of those processes. But there's always going to be the need for the human interaction. So I think career coaches, because there is all of that human interaction, it's not going to go away at its highest level, but the most commoditized, the easy to do tactical stuff, that'll disappear fairly quickly, like with a lot of things.
That is great. Now, I always ask this question to everyone that I speak with.
Okay.
And the question is about tips that you can provide our graduating students to get them ready for the workplace. Any 2 or 3 ideas that you can share with everyone?
Well, if you want a whole book on it, then there's this over here.
I knew you were going to do that.
As a plug for that. And I actually have an e-learning course called Student Career Success as well. But if I were to have to pick just one thing amongst all of those different things, I would say to take the time to invest in themselves, right? So they've already done that with school and with courses and stuff like that. But the investment that I encourage folks to take is more on the soft skills side, because most people don't spend enough time on that, whether it is mastering your mindset, right? When was the last time you actually thought about the thoughts and the feelings that you have and making sense of those? How about your social skills? How much time do you actually invest in your friends and your family and your colleagues and your contacts? How about your communication skills? How much time do you spend on being better at that? Or even time management and productivity, or all sorts of other soft skills that are out there. And if you haven't really taken time to upgrade yourself, then you're always out there for this newest certification, and your hard skills get upgraded. That's like running kind of the newest iPhone. I think we're at like iPhone 15 or whatever it is. But the software that you're running is like the oldest iOS 1, if that's even a thing, right? So the hardware is great because all your technical skills are awesome. But if your soft skills are lacking, well, that should be an upgrade. And if you can spend more time on that, that's really where I'd encourage folks to do that. Is the stuff I wish I knew earlier, and the tips that I'd have for the graduating class there, and to grab a copy of the book.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today, Luki. And have a great day. See you later.
Thanks so much, Robin. And thank you for the opportunity. And I really appreciate your time as well.
Bye.